The last swim, if you've ever swum in a lake or quarry at night, you know how dark the water gets. So dark you can't even see your own hands beneath the surface. Now imagine something grabbing you from below. Not weeds, not branches, fingers. That's exactly what happened to me. During the last swim of summer, I grew up in a small town where there wasn't much to do. When summer rolled around, most kids spent their days hanging around the quarry just outside town. The place was technically off-limits, fenced off with warning signs about unstable cliffs and deep water. But everyone ignored them. It was tradition, if you were a teenager here, you swam in the quarry. It was late August, just a week before school started back up, when my two closest friends, Josh and Aaron, convinced me to sneak out for one last swim. We'd been going there all summer, sometimes with groups, sometimes just us three. But that night, something about the air felt different. The days had been blisteringly hot, yet that evening carried a strange chill, the kind that hinted autumn wasn't far away. We got there around 10 p.m., riding our bikes down the dirt trail until the trees parted and revealed the black mouth of the quarry. The moon was high, silver light spilling over jagged cliffs and shimmering on the water below. Mist clung low across the surface, making it look like the lake was breathing. "Perfect night for it," Josh said, tossing his shirt aside. His voice echoed unnaturally against the rock walls, as if the quarry swallowed it and whispered it back. Aaron laughed nervously. "Yeah, perfect." We climbed up the familiar ledge about 20 feet high. From there, the water always looked bottomless. We knew it wasn't. It was maybe 50 feet deep, but staring down into that black void always made my stomach twist. Josh went first. The splash was enormous, and when he resurfaced, his laughter carried through the night. Aaron followed, less enthusiastic, his body cutting into the water with barely a ripple. Then it was my turn. I remember standing there, toes curling over the cold rock, feeling the mist on my face. The quarry looked different that night, darker, heavier, as if the water itself was waiting. I shook it off, sucked in a deep breath, and leapt. The fall felt endless. Then, with a smack and a rush of icy shock, I plunged under. The cold stole my breath immediately. I kicked hard, eyes wide open, but all I saw was black. Pitch black. That's when it happened. Something closed around my ankle. At first, I thought it was just weeds, maybe a snagged branch. But when I jerked my leg, it tightened. Not like something brushing me, but like fingers. Human fingers. Panic exploded inside me. I thrashed, clawing toward the surface. But the grip yanked me downward. My lungs screamed. I kicked with everything I had. But the pressure only grew stronger, bruising into my skin. In that moment, I swear I felt nails digging into my flesh. Just as my chest convulsed, ready to suck in water, the grip suddenly released. I shot upward, breaking the surface with a violent gasp. Josh and Aaron swam toward me, shouting, but their voices were muffled by the pounding of my heartbeat in my ears. They dragged me onto the rocks, and I lay there coughing, trembling so hard I couldn't speak. "What the hell happened?" Josh demanded. I pointed to my ankle. In the moonlight, we all saw it, dark, finger-shaped marks already blooming across my skin. None of us laughed it off. None of us joked about weeds or cramps. The quarry had taken its share of lives over the years, drownings, accidents, but I'd always thought those were just stories adults told to keep kids away. Now I wasn't so sure. We left without another word, not even bothering to dry off. We just grabbed our clothes and bikes and pedaled away, shivering, glancing back over our shoulders. That night, I dreamed of the quarry. In the dream, I was underwater again. But this time, I wasn't alone. A pale face hovered just below me, eyes wide and empty, mouth opening in a silent scream as hands, dozens of hands, reached up from the dark. I woke up drenched in sweat, ankle throbbing. The bruises lasted for weeks. A month later, the town announced the quarry would be sealed off permanently. Too many incidents, they said. Too many missing kids. Even now, years later, I can't look at still water without feeling that same icy grip around my leg. And every end of summer, when the nights grow cooler and the mist rolls in, I wonder if someone else will feel it too. Because the quarry doesn't let go forever. It just waits. Story 2. The campground stranger. When you're camping, the scariest thing isn't the wildlife. It's the people. And sometimes, it's not even clear if the person watching you is really human at all. This is what happened during my last camping trip of summer. Every year, my family had a tradition. Over Labor Day weekend, we'd pack up the car and drive out to Ravenwood State Park for one final camping trip before school started. It was supposed to be a cheerful way to end the summer. Marshmallows by the fire, swimming in the lake, and long hikes in the woods. I used to love those trips. But now, whenever I think about camping, all I remember is the last time we went. The night I saw the man who shouldn't have been there. It was the year I turned 15. My little sister Emily was 10, still young enough to think camping was pure adventure. The park wasn't far from our town, maybe an hour's drive. And normally it was buzzing with families that weekend. But when we arrived that Friday evening, something felt off. The lot was half empty. And my dad joked that we had the whole park to ourselves. But I remember my mom looking uneasy, like she'd already noticed the silence. We set up our tent by the tree line, close enough to the bathrooms but far enough for privacy. By nightfall, Dad had a fire going, and Emily roasted marshmallows until she was sticky with sugar. Eventually, we all crawled into our sleeping bags. I fell asleep to the sound of crickets and the faint rustle of wind in the leaves. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up. At first, I thought it was the call of an owl that had stirred me. But then I heard it, footsteps. Slow, deliberate, circling outside our tent. I froze, listening hard. It wasn't my dad. He was snoring loudly just a few feet away. The footsteps crunched over dead leaves, then stopped. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, a low sound reached my ears. Humming. It was faint, tuneless, almost like someone half remembering a lullaby. The hairs on my arms stood straight. Who hums in the woods at 2 in the morning? Carefully, I shifted and peeked through the mesh window of the tent. That's when I saw him. A tall man stood by the dying embers of our fire. He wore what looked like old hiking clothes, dirty and torn. And his face was mostly hidden by shadows. He didn't move, didn't call out, he just stood there, humming that awful broken tune. My heart hammered so loud I was sure he'd hear it. I wanted to wake my parents, but my body refused to move. Finally, after what felt like forever, the man turned slowly toward the woods and walked away, vanishing into the trees. I lay awake the rest of the night, shaking. In the morning, I told my dad what I'd seen. He laughed it off. Probably a ranger making rounds, he said. But I noticed how he checked the locks on the car twice before breakfast. We spent the day hiking, but I couldn't shake the image of that man. The way he stood, the way he seemed to be listening rather than looking. That night, I begged my parents to keep the fire burning. They did, more to humor me than anything. But sometime after midnight, the humming came back. This time it was louder, closer. Emily stirred beside me, then whispered, "He's at the window." I turned. Then my blood ran cold. Pressed against the mesh of our tent was a face. Pale, grinning, eyes wide and unblinking. His lips moved, shaping that awful humming sound. So close I could see the condensation of his breath against the fabric. I screamed. Dad bolted upright, grabbed the hatchet we kept by the firewood, and tore out of the tent. Mom pulled Emily and me close, whispering for us not to move. We heard Dad's shouts, the beam of his flashlight slicing through the trees. But there was no one there. No footsteps running away, no sound of breaking branches. Just silence, as if the man had melted into the woods. We didn't sleep the rest of the night. At first light, Dad packed everything up. We didn't even eat breakfast, we just shoved our gear into the car and left. On the way out, we passed the ranger station. My dad stopped to report what happened. The ranger frowned and shook his head. "There aren't any other campers in your section," he said. "And we don't patrol at night." My dad insisted, describing the man in detail. The ranger went pale, exchanged a look with his partner, then told us to wait a moment. He disappeared into the back and came out holding an old binder filled with reports. He showed my dad a page. I leaned over and saw a black and white photo of a man who looked almost exactly like the one I'd seen. Same tall frame, same gaunt face. The report said he was a camper who'd gone missing in the park 30 years ago. His body had never been found. We never went camping again. And sometimes, when the summer ends and the nights grow longer, I still hear that humming in my dreams. Low, broken, circling me in the dark. Story 3. The farewell party. End of summer parties are supposed to be bittersweet. One last night with friends before life moves on. But the party I went to didn't just mark the end of summer. It marked the beginning of something I still can't explain. The last Friday of August was supposed to be perfect. My best friend Rachel invited me to her cousin's lake house for an end-of-summer send-off. Everyone in our little group was about to scatter, some to college, some to jobs in other cities. It was our final chance to be together before everything changed. The lake house was one of those quiet, tucked-away places people only used in the warmer months. The air smelled of pine and smoke from the old stone fireplace. When I arrived, music drifted out over the water, and I could already hear laughter and the clink of bottles from the back deck. Inside, the house buzzed with energy. Strings of fairy lights hung along the walls, cheap beer filled coolers, and people danced barefoot across the creaky wooden floorboards. For a while, it felt like any other party, loud, fun, messy. But as the night went on, something about the atmosphere shifted. Around midnight, the energy started fading. Some people passed out on couches. Others disappeared upstairs in pairs. I wasn't drunk, just restless, so I slipped outside for some air. The night was unusually still. The lake stretched out like a sheet of dark glass, reflecting the stars. The air was cooler than it had been all week, a quiet reminder that summer was ending. I stood at the edge of the dock, staring out across the water, when I noticed her. A girl was standing at the far end of the dock. Her back was to me, hair long and dripping wet, her white dress clinging to her skin. At first, I thought she must have gone for a late swim, though the water had to be freezing by then. "Hey!" I called softly. "Party's inside." She didn't answer. Something about her silence made my stomach twist. I took a few steps closer, the boards creaking under my feet. That's when I realized she wasn't standing on the dock. She was standing just beyond it, her bare feet flat against the surface of the water. I froze. My mind scrambled for explanations. Maybe I was tired. Maybe the light was playing tricks. But as I blinked, she turned her head slightly, and I saw her face. Her skin was pale, almost blue. Her lips were parted as if she were whispering something. But no sound came out. Water dripped steadily from her hair and fingertips, rippling the glassy surface beneath her. I stumbled back, heart hammering. In that instant, the girl vanished. No splash, no ripple. Just gone. I backed up until I was inside the house again, forcing myself to breathe. Rachel found me and asked if I was okay. I tried to laugh it off, saying I thought I saw someone outside. But when she pressed, I asked, "Who else is staying here?" "Maybe one of your cousins." She frowned. "No one. Just us." The rest of the night was a blur. I couldn't bring myself to step outside again, though I kept glancing at the windows, half expecting to see her face staring in. The next morning, after everyone left, I pulled Rachel aside and told her what I'd really seen. I expected her to laugh or roll her eyes. Instead, her face went pale. "You saw her too?" she whispered. My skin prickled. "What do you mean, too?" Rachel looked out toward the lake. "A couple years ago, my cousin swore he saw a girl walking on the water late one night. He said she was dripping wet, wearing some kind of old-fashioned dress. Nobody believed him. We thought he was drunk. But then, he stopped coming here. He wouldn't set foot near the lake again. I wanted to believe it was just a story, a trick of the light. But the memory of her face, pale, whispering, drowning without a sound, has stayed with me ever since. Every year, when summer ends and the nights cool, I dream of that lake. In the dream, I'm standing at the dock again. And she's there, closer each time, dripping, staring, waiting. And I know one day she won't vanish. One day she'll reach me,